Thank you for your interest in our series on temperament and personal leadership. My name is Bill Stone, and I want to take just a couple minutes here today to look at one thing that you can use now to apply what we've been talking about. We've been looking at the big 5 temperament scales, including agreeableness, conscientiousness, extroversion, openness, and emotional resilience. And I hope that you've had an opportunity to download the handout, the Big 5 Temperaments, and if not, I would encourage you to do that now, especially as we move into the next section, taking action. And as you've heard at least 6 times, temperament does dictate our successes or failures as much as our skills, and those temperaments can be measured and developed. And by enhancing our self-awareness, we can be better business leaders. The material we've been providing you should give you a good sense of your temperament preferences, but if you would like something with a bit more detail, there are free assessments available on the internet that utilize the Big 5 temperament scales. And of course, we at Promising Futures use the personality style inventory from Resource Associates. And you can look at our website for more information about how we can apply that to your situation, or certainly call us, and we'd be happy to talk with you. The Stop, Start, Continue model is a rather simple way for doing evaluations of workshop presentations or using in a performance review to take a look at 1 or 2 things an individual might like to change or what have you. We're going to apply it here. Now I'm setting this up for all 5 temperament types. You probably will best advise to pick one and make that your particular project. In this particular screen, we see agreeableness. So what are the things that you see that might interfere with your working relationships? Is there something you can start doing that will enhance your work relationships? And very important, what are you doing now that works? I'm sure you're not a total loss. So it's going to be important that we have a balance. There are ways you can improve, and there are ways that you should celebrate what you're already doing. In this screen, take time to examine your level of compliance with company rules and see what maybe you need to change in order to be more in compliance, or are there rules or things that need to be questioned and you need a strategy to help the company make the change in a manner that's not going to be threatening or counterproductive. Frankly, this same model can be used simply with interactions with employees. So for example, I had one individual I was working with who the company wanted to be an internal consultant. And people would come to him with questions, and he was bright to the point of arrogance. And when he had finally shown someone what they needed to do, he really ridiculed them because they hadn't seen the answer themselves. Needless to say, people stopped coming before very long. The compliance he needed to work on was just being polite. And I got him to go around and just start having casual conversations with his coworkers. I came back and a week later met with him, and I says, well, how did it go? And he says, well, I've learned all about snowmobiles. I've seen pictures of new babies. I learned about sports teams, but I'm not doing anything the company is paying me for. And I said, I see. Are people asking you questions? And he started to smile. He says, yeah. He said, they've started coming to me more now than they were before. So some simple little things like this that you could start doing might make the difference. I work with many individuals for whom networking is a huge chore. They'd rather be set on fire than go into a meeting and not be sure of what their role is, whether these are chamber events or whatever. I sent one individual who was just absolutely terrorized by the thought of interacting to a huge chamber meeting, and the governor was speaking. Well, his task was to serve as a phantom host of anyone who looked like they were standing by themselves and might have been a bit uncomfortable. So he got there and he got up his nerve and he saw some individual standing off by himself, immediately raced over and introduced himself. And and he said, "And what's your name?" And the fellow looked at them in a rather odd manner and shook his hand and he said, "Well, I'm the governor." The poor fellow was so fraught with anxiety, he didn't recognize the governor of his state. And of course, once that happened, it broke the ice, and they actually had a very productive and enjoyable conversation. I'm not saying that this is going to happen to you, but that's one simple thing, working as a phantom host in networking meetings, that someone could try to help them get out of the shell and get over that fear of meeting new people. Openness to new ideas may take shape of a learning activity. If you have trouble with learning, or you just don't like workshops, find something that really interests you, a hobby or some avocational activity that you might like to learn more about, even if it doesn't have anything to do with the workplace. But begin to train yourself to learn to enjoy learning in a manner that fits your personality. By doing this on your own, when your company expects you to learn new things, at least you'll have had some positive background that can help you get off on a positive start when you're confronted with learning something that may not be as pleasant. Often managing emotional resilience can be accomplished by developing some scripts. That is, if you're a totally stoic individual and having emotionally charged conversations is either boring or puts you off or uncomfortable for you, you may want to try developing some active listening skills to help you learn to manage that. If, on the other hand, you think that you are overly emotional in situations, think about what that does for you. You might try some guided imagery or other techniques to recognize what happens to your body in your breathing when you get into stressful situations. And perhaps just by controlling your breathing, you can bring yourself to be a bit more centered and attack stressful situations with a bit more calm. Well, I sincerely hope you found these sessions helpful to you and that you'll take away something that you'll be able to apply immediately in your workplace. If you have questions or comments, here's our contact information, and I hope you'll get in touch with us. Again, my name is Bill Stone, and I thank you very much for participating in our sessions on temperament and personal leadership.